Well, friends, and welcome to another video lesson from DBOS Talks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. This video is in the playlist called SQL Developer Tips, and we'll be learning how to auto-format SQL automatically format SQL statement. All right, so you'll be using SQL Developer, which is the IDE tool of Oracle. And we may be in a situation where, let's say, um, we're building a select statement. We begin with something nice and tidy, and after a while, trying to try a couple of things here and there, making adjustments, making changes on the fly. Then after a while, your SQL statement looks a bit like this, or maybe even worse. It has become messy. It has lost its intended structure or format as you wanted it to be in the first place, in the very beginning. Okay, so in such cases, like what you see now, it doesn't look nice, and unless you don't know in coding and programming, the formatting of your code is not just for the sake of being good looking, but it is more for readability, for maintenance, code maintenance. So in this case, let's take a look at this example. You can see that it's not really indented properly. It's just indented here, but it's not really proper. Look at this right join here. Right is here, join is on the next line. So it doesn't look good, that doesn't look right. It's confusing for somebody who will be working on this, especially if it becomes a very long SQL statement or even an SQL script. Okay, so in SQL Developer, we have a couple of we have a few options on how to fix this very quickly. And we're looking at the first one right now. So the first way of auto formatting SQL, an SQL statement in SQL Developer is right this. You right click anywhere on the code, okay? And then once you get into the context menu, you see the context menu, you scroll down, you don't see it now. Never. Okay, you don't see it, but it's somewhere down below here. You will see the word format. And as you can see, after I click on format in that context menu, it automatically formats your SQL statement like this. Okay, so you can see that the very important keywords or reserved words of the select statement are properly indented and they are in uppercase. Already by default, you can see that reserved words are in a different color scheme. The reserved words here are these. Select from, right join, you have the on, you have the order by. Okay, so they are already in such color coding, which helps you visually to point out the reserved words. But because of this action of doing a right click and doing clicking on format, then it automatically formats for you the select statement. Okay, so that's the first way, and we can look at a second way of doing that. Let me just get my code again. So this time I'm reusing the same SQL statement as we have seen before, but this time I have intentionally aligned them to the left, so it's a different scenario than what we had in the first example that I've shown you. Okay, so but it's basically the same select statement. Okay, so in here, this is still not the ideal or proper way of formatting this select statement. As you can see, the from is here, it is not indented, and then the continuation of select list is split between these two lines, okay, but it's not so proper. So we look at the second way of automatically formatting the select statement. Okay, so equivalent to doing a right click and then a format, you can just simply use a keyboard shortcut or combination of keys. In this case, it's a combination of the control key plus the function key F7. Okay, so unless you're very, very new to Windows, I believe you know what I mean. So when we use a combination key in Windows or in either, what we would do is you would press on the first key, and while it is still pressed down, then you will click on the other key. In this case, you press down the control key, and while it's pressed, you click or you press on F7. Okay, so I'll do that now. Control F7. Sorry, I'll put it some here just to be sure. Control F7. And you can see it does exactly what we have seen, how it did the auto formatting in the first example. Okay, so in the earlier example, we used the context menu, we right click on the SQL and then clicked on format, but this time around, we used the keyboard shortcut. Okay, we can take this a step further a bit as we talk about formatting. Okay, so speaking of formatting, so we can take it just a bit further. So what you can do is, while already you have this formatting in place, you can click on the tools menu over here, and then you go to preferences at the bottom here, and then you look for code editor on the left. All right. And then you can also expand. Not you can, but you must expand the plus sign over here on code editor. Okay. And then once you're there, once it's expanded, you'll find several options underneath it. Okay. And you can do any of these customizations as you wish. For instance, we can click on fonts. All right. And you know what a font is. And here there's a preview pane which shows you how the formatting looks like. All right. So let's just say, look at this, the font name at the top. This is the default font name. In my case, it's called dialog input. And there's combo box over here that you can just drop down and gives you the option to change the font into something else. Okay. So let's just say I will drop it down, and then I will choose maybe this one called elephant, even though I don't know how it looks. Never mind. Once you click on it, then you can be able to preview it, yeah, instantaneously. Okay. So I click on elephant, and right immediately I will see a preview of that. All right. The bold, the italics, etc. Okay. So if I'm fine with this, and I'm fine with what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing, then I can just click on OK. And you can see it has applied the formatting which I have chosen, which in this case is a font. It applied it to my select statement, and it's consistent because you can see that the reserved words are also standing out consistently, and in contrast with the rest of the text of the select statement. Okay, so but if just in case I change my mind, I wanted to revert to the previous setting, I will not do a Control Z, because it's not gonna work. What I'm gonna work, if I want to revert to the former or the previous setting, is to again go to the same thing we did. So go to tools in the menu, preferences, and then we're here at code editor. Under that we have fonts, and then you can just choose the font that you want. In my case, I want to revert it to the original one I had in the first place at the very beginning. Dialog input, and I can see my preview. It looks nice. I can just click on OK, and we're back to normal. Okay, so we've seen a few ways of automatically formatting SQL using SQL Developer, the GUI tool. Okay, and we've also seen how we can take it a step further in the area of formatting or customizing a format, and that's via tools preferences. Okay, thank you for watching and listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.